speaker and moderator whose knowledge and experience will guide us through how to sustain in these tough times. Let's come together to learn how to handle crisis, find new opportunities, and build lasting trust even in difficult moments. Let's move on to introduce our first speaker for today's panel discussion. It's my honor to introduce you to Mr. Sandeep Mehra. Mr. Sandeep Mehra is a global leader and founder of Sandeep Mehra, dedicated to awakening individuals in a potential and helping them with the purpose and creativity. With over a decade of leadership experience, he has driven transformation and innovation worldwide. As an authentic speaker and inner awakening catalyst, Mr. Mehra inspires individuals, business, and organizations to embrace authenticity and break free from limitations, encouraging them to lead with a vision and heart in both their personal and professional life. His approach to leadership fosters self-awareness and creativity, helping others unlock their full potential and creating lasting positive change. Kindly give him a huge round of applause. Welcome him to the panel. Moving on to our second speaker for the day, we are honored to introduce Mr. Rajiv Mukherjee. Mr. Rajiv Mukherjee is a seasoned entrepreneur with over 22 years of experience, including 12 years as an entrepreneur. He has founded three startups, delivered two successful exits, and generated 3x to 6x ROI for early investors. His passion lies in venture building for high impact, scalable use cases, leveraging his vast network and ecosystem of venture supporters. As the founder and chief global evangelist of Incubate Hub, he drives technology-driven innovation by partnering with corporate startups, innovators, and research institutes across India, Malaysia, Singapore, and sub-Saharan Africa. His expertise in working with B2B startups, coupled with his leadership and innovation challenges, startup pilot programs, and joint go-to-market initiatives with corporations like P&G, ITC, and Mercedes, has positioned him as a key player in global innovation. Mr. Mukherjee is also the founding partner of Mirai Venture, Asia's first native venture builder, which co-built AI ventures from the ground up with exceptional entrepreneurs. As alumnus of Anko Code, he has been a pioneer in corporate innovation, blending digital technology, business development, and sustainable growth throughout his career. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed speaker, Mr. Rajiv Mukherjee, to the dais. Now, we are honored to introduce you Mr. Jalaluddin Mondal. Mr. Jalaluddin Mondal is a distinguished leader with over 2 decades of experience in marketing operations, brand building, and driving business operations across categories like telecom, smartphones and devices, electronic consumer durables, and media and entertainment. He is currently the Executive Vice President and Business Head of the Bangla Cinema, Viviscope, and the Cluster Head for Eastern Languages Market of the Entertainment India. His career spans leading roles at major companies including Vodafone, Nokia, Microsoft, RailTel, Airtel Maxis, and Tata Teleservices, where he spearheaded marketing and business operations, delivering significant growth in revenue and market share. Notably, he has handled marketing operations with annual turnover exceeding rupees 2,000 crores and successfully managed diverse product portfolios. An alumnus of IIM Kashipur and IT Durgapur, Mr. Mondal's expertise in leadership, brand building, market planning, and managing large business operations has made him a pivotal figure in driving marketing and brand success across Eastern India. Kindly give him a huge round of applause. Welcome to the panel. Now, we are delighted to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Naman Sharma, our moderator for today's event. Dr. Naman Sharma is an esteemed assistant professor and program director at Iift. With a PhD in management, his expertise spans across human resource management, organizational behavior, and entrepreneurship. His academic journey has seen him hold significant teaching roles, including at the Entrepreneur Development Institute of India and MIT University. Dr. Sharma has made notable contribution to research with several publications. He has also authored books and chapters addressing key issues in workforce diversity, employee engagement, and entrepreneurship. His work not only drives academic thought, but also offers practical strategies for enhancing organizational performance. Please join me in welcoming our esteemed moderator, Dr. Naman. Now, without further delay, let's jump right into our panel discussion on the topic leadership in turbulent times.
Thank you, Isel and IMF, for organizing this year Vivaan and inviting all of us. So before we start the panel discussion, I want to first tell you a bad news and then a couple of good news. Okay. So the bad news is we have lost to New Zealand by 8 wickets, but there are some matches which are left. Okay. The good news is that everything else today is going to be good. Right? We're going to enjoy it. We're going to discuss that. We're going to learn new things. And then in the evening, I have heard you guys have some plans to have fun. Right? So there are three things because of which I'm very excited about today's summit. The number one thing is it is bringing the two of my favorite words together: entrepreneurship and human resource management. Right? So we are meeting with founders, we are meeting with people, we have seen founders. We will talk about leadership, which is basically the root for any kind of human resource practices that we have in organization. And nothing could be better than this. The second reason is, of course, our esteemed panelists. Right? So I was going through their profile yesterday, but more importantly, I had a pleasure of meeting them before this summit, and I got to learn a lot of things in a span of roughly 20 minutes. I'm quite happy to share this space with them today. Right? The third is when there is a backstory. So the people who know me, they know that my conversations are usually not complete without some kind of. So I'm going to talk about a small incident of my life, not a very lengthy incident. They are more familiar with the lengthier incidents. So it happened some roughly 8 to 9 years back when I was doing my PhD, and they have got some stories about my PhD. But I met a person who was a businessman from Gujarat. I think at that time he was roughly 70, 75 years old. And I met him in a train because I was broke at that time. So could not afford a flight. Right. So he asked me that what do I do? And I told him that I'm doing PhD, and I was very proud of my PhD. Right? I was like, I'm going to change the world and all. And he said that, okay, so is there any kind of a mantra or something that you follow in life? So I was taken aback. But since I already had this build up in front of him that I'm doing PhD, so it's a very important thing that I'm doing in life. I told him that when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. So I thought that it's a simple thing. People say it all the time, so it's going to be interesting. But I was taken aback because he asked me a question: for who? You're making lemonade for who? For yourself? For others? For your family members? What are you going to do with this lemon? And that made me think. Right. So suddenly I realized that I should be more open to others' ideas. What they do. So I asked him that. Okay, so what would you do? If you have to live with this mantra, what would be your mantra? Said that your mantra is correct, but it is incomplete. So my mantra would be when life gives you lemonade, or life gives you lemon, you make lemonade and sell it to Tropicana and make profit. So I like that advice. I said that that's very good. So I do it. I whenever the life gives me lemon, I make a lemonade and I sell it to Tropicana. So he spoke like a businessman and it strikes me, right? But then he said, this is still not complete. There's a problem with this. So I asked him, what is that problem? So he said that the season changes. And then there will be a season when the lemons are dry. What would you do? You have a client like Tropicana. And I was again speechless. I had no idea. So, long story short, he told me what to do in that case. But I think we are going to figure out what is that right mantra through our discussion today. So, without any further ado, we'll go with the discussion today. I think the way we have planned is first, our three panelists will share some experiences, their understanding of the topic that we have in hand today, the leadership in turbulent times, with respect to businesses. And then we will take up some questions and we will try to figure out the key mystery, that what to do with lemons and lemonade when your lemons are dry. So we'll start with Jalal sir first. If Jalal sir want to share his experience and want to tell our audience something more. But sir, before I again insist, before we start, there is a good news for all of us as well. So the audience that we have today is the first year, and that is the best year. I'm their program director and I can vouch for them. That's the best batch we have got in recent years. No. So I think we are also going to have a lot of fun. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, that's a good news. That should be a good news. Get an appreciation from your faculty, from your professors, and in open forum, cannot have a bigger gratification. So thank you, Professor Mohan. Well, to me, if you really take my reflection on the topic of leadership in the current I thought that it cannot be more relevant than this. It's so relevant to you. Typically, we are living in a world which is never been that much difficult. You can take as good news or bad news, but the world has become really a difficult place to be. And someone calling it as a hookup, someone might have had a privilege to know this acronym, hookup, UCA. We are in a world of volatile, full of volatile. Yeah. So uncertain, right? Why uncertain? Because the data is not going to really give us enough predictability, clarity. While we all have this big data, small data, large data element, and then talking and getting into a space of the world of AI, but still getting a data and clarity is remain a bigger challenge because we are living in a volatile world. And then complex. It's a complex world. Mr. Naman was passionate about PhD. One of the core thing that about PhD is the causality. Any kind of a theory build-up, the fundamental is to establish a relationship between two variables. That's the theory. Which you call in corporate parlance, we call causality. Why causality? Because so that we can replicate that time and again. Because we need a repeatable business model. For the repeatable business model, we've got to understand which is impacting what, which is nothing but the causality. So in a complex world, it's very difficult to really understand that. And I don't know whether you all are really gone through this statistics or not. But then in a social research, we said that if the explanatory power of any phenomena, any event, is more than 50%, it's great. Huh? If the R square is more than 0.5, it's great. We are happy. 50%, we can explain the event to the extent of around 50%, explain the event by around 50%. And then, of course, the ambiguous. We are living in this world, and honestly, this will remain there if not going and becoming more complex, more difficult. When we are living in this kind of world, it is increasingly become important for a leadership. to understand this reality. More than understanding this reality, accepting this reality. The challenge of our today's leadership is the leader who really, and though I've been part of that fraternity, but then most of them, even more often than not, they are not really able to reflect on the current environment. Simply because one of the reasons is maybe they are old, like me, which is 50. Our leaders are more than 50. And as they say that in the elephant can't dance. And then promoter, we were discussing offline that a promoter is one of the big challenges. Like in Indian parlance, promoter drive the larger part of the business. And promoter, one of the biggest ability of a promoter, which is make them what they are today, is the risk-taking ability. Right? They actually do away with that when they become successful. Which is the other reason. This is the situation. So therefore, in my mind, to be able to manage, to be able to deal with this kind of environment, VUCA environment, the leader really wanted to be a couple of things. Right? Very simple way to put it, that they really got to be empathic. They got to be really empathic. Now, unless and until you put yourself on the other shoe, because at the end of the job of a leader is getting things done, right, through others. To work through others. All people, right, part of your team. Unless and until you are understanding their pain area and really help them, facilitate them to be able to work on that pain area, which is challenges area, how you are expecting them to really negotiate with this situation. And one is definitely that they got to be empathic. Then they got to be resilient enough. Because the situation, as I said, the VUCA world is only going to go up. And business will have cyclicity. Turbulent, we're talking about turbulent, business will always have turbulence. It will have ups and downs. That's the biggest truth, that's the universal truth. Business will always have ups and downs, like sine curve. The job of manager or the leader is simply when you are at the top, right, at the peak of your business, how much prolonged that you can have that period when you are actually doing good. To stretch that period. That's and when you are in the top, okay, when you are in down in business, how much shorten that you can make that period. This is the job of a manager. And for that, of course, you got to take a lot of decision choices. But that's a separate thing altogether. And then adaptability. Adaptability. A leader needs to, a manager needs to have that adaptability. Quickly understand, assess how the world is changing around you. And accordingly, try to reflect, accustom with that changing environment. And the most important thing in my mind about today's leadership is vulnerability. The problem of yesterday's leaders are they don't want to behave like that they are vulnerable. Always like to behave plastically. Any kind of situation, they will say, okay, the problem lies within you. They will never accept their failure. They will never accept their mistake. I don't understand why. So, which is why the vulnerability is very, very critical in today's leadership. You got to be vulnerable. It's the honesty. Yeah. So basically, these are the things which is there in my mind. And in my mind, with this backdrop, right, a topic like this cannot be more relevant than now. And really, I was saying that I am amazed to when I heard that this is the topic has been selected by you all. I was amazed to see how you all are showing so maturity. This is the mature topic. And big thanks to you all. That's my initial reflection on the topic and the background of today.
Thank you, sir. Before we move further, if you don't mind, there is a question in my mind. You said that when I see leaders, I usually see more mature people who have seen certain cycles of people going up and down. And then they have certain approach towards it. But how relevant is that for the young startups. There are people, there are students who are coming just out of the university and they are starting their business. And a lot of times, they had a very good start. But then something like COVID happens, or there are other issues which happen, competition happens, and then suddenly there are development. So, what do you think, in your opinion, that how do they take this, or what should be their approach, or what should be their mindset in situations like?
One thing, resilience. I said that one of our important attributes of leadership has is the resilience. See, whatever a turbulent time it might be. I mean, COVID, we all know when it broke, we all are broke. We were like completely zapped and what it is. And then we were not sure enough yet how to deal, how to negotiate with that situation. One certain. But one thing was certain that we all knew that it's going to get over. Sooner or later. That we all knew it. But the problem is that no one is really going to accept at that point in time. That's maybe in a couple of X months of time. We may not be knowing that how long this period will be, but we are certain that sooner or later it's going to get over. And there will be a war on the other side. Unless and until we have that resilience and believe that it's going to get over, and therefore we got to make best out of this opportunity, from this challenge, we will really make ourselves better, not better, for the other side of the cycle, which is not. So, which is why the resilience. You've got to have a resilience for a new entrepreneurship, resilient, and make yourself prepared for the other side. I'll tell you one of the quotes that comes in my mind. One is, of course, Warren Buffett. He said that you actually got to be on another saying when or the other word, Dickens said, Charles Dickens said that the best time is when time is challenging. That's the best time. Why? Because everybody is fearful. Everybody is fearful. Let me just give you a small example why this is an opportunity. I came from a media and entertainment. And during COVID, during COVID, there is one time, huge, from a good 50% level, we become negative. Positive EBITDA, we become negative. And profitability, we were 50% profit and then this is more than EBITDA. So we become negative because of the top line. But then we all know that on the other side of it is going to be even better. Why? Because many of the brands, especially the challenger brand, they should really see this as an opportunity. Because the rate of advertising, which is called 10-second bar, the effective rate, and got slashed down like hell. Because no one is advertising. No one is advertising. The rate has been fallen by 80%. The price has dropped by 80%. Now, this is the time for building a brand. This is the time of building brand because the rate is dropped, the market is flat. No one is advertising. No one is advertising. It's a part of you. No one is there. You go, do something. You will be easily noticed. But for that, you've got to have that understanding and the reasoning.
You said it was definitely very insightful. Now I would like to pass the baton to Rajiv sir. Take the tone and the pointers that he wants us to discuss and reflect.
So Naman made me very comfortable today, not to sugarcoat anything. So I have kind of saved few minutes. So I will share my experiences, whatever I have gone through in those journeys from a leadership standpoint. So on the front of, so I have experience in starting up and going through those cycles. I will give you some practical experiences from my COVID period. Right? So when COVID happened, we were a 40-member team. We could not decide in an office that we don't need to go to office. We had to decide online. Right? So we got into those Zoom meetings. So one of the very important, I think, Jalal already spoke about few things like authenticity and all of that. A very key important of an entrepreneur is decision making. Empathy is super critical. Authenticity, integrity is super critical. Because if, for example, you ask your employees to work hard and you are going from holiday, it will not work. You learn by seeing what others are doing. You learn from your father, you learn from all of them. Right? So authenticity, integrity is super important. Empathy is super important. If they have to take a leave, you give a leave and you have to work for them. That's what empathy is. That I will work for 2-3 days, you take a leave and you come back. Right? Practical. But if you don't have good decision making, I feel that is mine, and I have gone through these cycles. Authenticity and empathy will not help. Because at the end of the day, the employees are looking forward to you. Empathy, authenticity is great, but they want to see a person who can take decisions. When they come to you, you have to take decisions because you have a 360-degree view. Others don't have a 360-degree view. If you take those decisions, you have to follow through with those decisions. If you have asked them that you wait for 6 months, in 6 months things will turn around. You have to put that effort to turn around in 6 months. Right? So those decision-making capabilities becomes very critical, definitely for an entrepreneur and also for senior management people and CEOs. I think that is one thing that I want to add along with whatever Jalal said. Apart from that, I think we'll continue as the discussion continues.
Thank you, sir. Just one question again I just had in mind. So you just said that decision making becomes very critical. But after all, leaders are also human. Then when something like COVID happens or something which is unexpected suddenly happens, decision making is not definitely easy, and you may not always have a foresight that what's going to happen after a year or something. So in that case, how do leaders handle the situation? If you have any instance in mind.
It's a very good question, and that one line has stayed with me, that you cannot make a right decision. You make a decision and make it right. So that is, for any entrepreneur, that is the most important thing. It is not possible. You can take an informed decision. You can take a decision with certain frameworks, but you cannot make a right decision. You have to make it right as you go.
That's it. Thank you. So we will now move to our third panelist, Sandeep sir. So Sandeep sir, again, I would request you the same thing. Share your point of view. What are the things that you want us to reflect on today?
Sure. Hello. Hello. Is there anyone sound? Hello. Just give me some sound. More sound. Because I want it. Hello. Little bit more. Thank you. Okay. So lovely to have you all here. I'm just starting with one example. Very simple example from your personal life. It's about a situation. Sir is a child sleeping at one room, okay, at your home. He is sleeping in a room. There is a mother went out for something to buy something for him, or for the son or the family. And the sir is the father, resting on other room, sleeping, tired, maybe sleeping. And you are the person who is just passing by that room. And you saw that the child needs some care. You can't leave the child over there like that. And you also know that mother is outside. You also know that father is sleeping. Now you are coming back from all your hustles. You know that you are already dealing with so many things, and you are standing at that center point where all two rooms, where father is sleeping, where small child is anytime can wake up because the small child and mother is outside. So now you are sitting at that point and balancing the act. You are the person who is just standing and saying nothing, taking care of child so that the child can sleep properly as long as possible. At the same time, father is sleeping. You want father to sleep best because it is best for their good, and they have to take care of so many things. And you have to act like a mother who is not at the home right now, and you are already dealing with so many things. So when you stand at that point where you are seeing all these three things happening, and you are coming with thousand things of yours, you're just standing over there and waiting endlessly unless either mother come back, father wake up, or the child. So this is the leadership that the world needs. You don't have to tell anyone that you are a leader. You don't have to prove yourself in any way or to display your ad in a banner or a billboard that you are a leader. Or you don't have to tell anyone what you carry within you. You are leader. You are natural leader. You are the leader. Don't don't search it anywhere outside. Because the moment you decided that it's my responsibility to stand over here and don't ask for any credit from anyone. And because this is my responsibility, no one has to tell me that this is at this moment of time I have to do this. I have to be here until anything can happen. No matter what situation brings to you, no matter what happens to the other phase of your life, or nothing matters. You know that this moment, this situation needs you. And the moment you decide that you have taken the charge of the situation, you become the global leader. And that's the only thing you need to remember in your life. Nobody can tell you who you are, what you should do, what you don't have, and what you have. You have every single thing in you. All you need is just a self introspection. You have to understand who you are, why you are here. The day you will start going inside, the leader within you who is ruling the world will reflect outside. That's the leadership, and that's the turbulent time we all have in our lives in thousands of ways. No matter what place you are, what situation you are, what condition you are dealing with, and what you feel, how you feel, nothing matters at all. Just nothing matters. Only one thing that matters is you. And when you find yourself, then whenever those turbulent situation will come, you will find yourself standing over there. And when the mother will come back, you will smile and you will go back to your work. Nobody will tell that you have taken care of this situation. You don't have to tell them, because the moment you will tell them that you are there at that time when you are not here, it's not a leader. It's not a trait of leader. Then he is a manipulator. He's not a leader. So the true leader don't take charge of things. They just know that this is theirs. This is the thing that they have to do. It's simple as it is. But today it is so difficult. And I don't know you feel this way or not, but today this is very difficult. What is most difficult today is that standing over there and doing all of these things and getting no credit for it. You are hungry for that credit. You are dying for that credit. Give me my credit. I have done this. And that's the point where you are losing the leadership. That's the real point you are failing as a leader. You don't need credit. You are the credit. You are the prize. Why you are searching to someone else to tell you that you are the prize? You have done this. Wow, you serve the purpose. You help me this and that. You are spoiling yourself in many ways when you are doing this. You are the prize. You don't have to tell this. You are. Why you need anyone else to explain this thing to you? So when any turbulent situations comes to your life, any sort of situation, forget about entrepreneurship or forget about building a huge business or following someone else's vision. You just have to be you. The moment you decide you are ready to become you, you become the leader of any turbulent time that ever exists on this planet or will exist on this planet. So that's the only thing I would like to come up as a summary. So I think I have said enough to give you some brief of that. What is leadership in turbulent times?
Thank you, sir. I think it was a very interesting analogy that you have provided for that of giant, and you make us think about how the leadership functions. So as we move forward, I was just thinking about hearing all three of our panelists today. We are talking about leaders, right? But leaders do not work, inside us. So there are other people in the organization, and their leadership style or their decision making gets affected by those people. So let's talk about this team as well. So I want to know from my panel first before we go to our audience and let them take some questions. That what is this relationship between the leader and the team, especially during these difficult times? Um, Let me rephrase this question like this: that supposing this is a movie where there are these two characters, leader and the team, the rest of the cast. So is it going to be a fun movie? Is it going to be a horror movie? Is it going to be a drama movie? What kind of movie are we seeing there, especially during this difficult? So I would like to hear it from the panel. Anyone would like to?
But before that, I want to just reflect on what Raju was saying on this leadership context. So he was talking about that in the leaders are also some of the comments. So there is some. So leaders will all be back. So leaders will have to make decisions very. Uh, and I spoke about that the risk-taking ability. Risk-taking ability. Now you've got to take risk. You've got to make this. As a leader, you cannot do the same thing and expect different results. Never. So as a leader, we were talking about the natural leadership. Natural leadership also will have to take some bit of risk. Now, question is that when you are taking risk, it is that's the job of a team. And of course, around it, of course. And for that, of course, so much of a data, evidence, past learnings. Those are the things which will help us to de-risk any kind of a decision. The challenge is that in today's scenario, most of our leaders, they hardly take decision rationally. This from my realization. They take decision emotionally and explain, justify it rationally. Let me just give you an example. So data says that during any kind of a challenging time, recession, like COVID pandemic, you got to stay invested. Your brand got to stay invested. And that there are reasons, there are not much of a rational reason. For example, others will not invest. Consumer expectation, behavior will change. And market has become clutter-free. And you know that if you stay invested, if you stay connected with your audience, your consumer, on the other side of it, consumer will give you hefty reward. That evidence is there. And both in the practicing literature as well as from the academic literature, there are plethora of evidence there about that. So in terms of data, there should not be any argument. N number of examples. But despite knowing that fact, leaders is making a decision which every leader says, which is not to stay invested. Why not to stay invested? Because your top line is not going. Why your top line is not going? Because consumer confidence is not there, consumer is stop purchasing. There could be reason. Because consumer also The behavior of consumer also change, but during any kind of a challenging time. They are sentimental, they fear, they don't know about what will happen tomorrow. So therefore, they will cut their expenses. They will only incur which is the essential expenditure. So that's given, that understand. Okay. But then consumer also expect something that their brand will try to address to their pain. There are consumer pain here. The brand need to really address those. We talk about brand as a person, right? So the person, friend, also need to behave like a company, which is why the brand love will come, right? We talk about brand love today. The moment that will happen, that love will happen, that relationship will happen with the consumer, the moment the consumer will see that this brand is actually, the intent of this brand is pretty strong, is actually coming as a pal of mine, going to reward you sooner or later. This is also knowing to leaders. This is also knowing to leaders. But despite that, what they are taking, what the decision that they are making the decision which is the populist decision. If the top line is not growing, to be able to stay afloat, to be able to manage their bottom line, they are cutting the expense drastically. They are cutting the expenditure on marketing, they are cutting the expenditure on R&D, on the new product development, expenditure on customer services, and they are cutting the expenditure. The last but not the least is laying off. Now everything is counterfeit. Everything is counterfeit. Which is it happened in my experience, interested in one category only. Let me just tell you that story. Zee Bangla, in case some of the Bengali folks, you can be knowing that Zee Bangla is a very leading brand in Bengal, more than 25 years. And it's a dominant leader in the category, in the regional Bengali language category. And we were growing and becoming stronger before COVID, almost like 3-4 years at a stretch from 2018 onward. We were gaining market share and a dream run. So much so, we at some point in time, just before pandemic, our share reached to 50%, 51-52%. Unheard of. Across India, there is no language market, but there is no national channel. We got a share more than 50%. So we were having that 50% share. And then COVID-19, that outbreak. All of a sudden, we all become in the level playing now. So that competitive advantage gone. Why? Because we are not producing any content. We are not producing any content, right? The studios were stuck, right? I mean, there is no shooting, there is no new content, there is no face-to-face content. So no serials was going on, no non-fiction reality shows was going on, no films that we are making. During that time, almost like 3-4 months. And during that time, because our PNL was extremely healthy, okay, there was so much more conversation happened with our management, and management, not CEO at that time. Okay. We failed to convince him that we got to stay invested during that time, but despite that, to be able to maintain the EBITDA level, which is more than 50%. Okay. We were profitable company. To maintain that EBITDA, that profitability, we were brutally cutting the cost. And what our competition did, which start, contrary to that, they stay invested heavily. They were buying like hell, and we were wondering what the hell that they are doing. They are buying content left and right center from across region. Right? And for example, Ramayana, that old show of Ramanand Sagar, they bought that. You say they are doing a suicide. They are buying that content which is some 2 years ago. If not 50-40 years ago. They are so aggressive. And that they are doing across India, all the regional market and the national market. And guess what? On the other side of it, when everything got settled down, the recovery started, they are gaining like hockey stick. And they became number one. They were struggling for good 5 years to get that spot. In 5 months, they got that position back. And interestingly, During that time, I was having a chat with someone called Amit Joshi. I mean, he is the professor of AI and he's a very renowned person of IMD, Switzerland. And he said that this is what it is. The theory says that there is enough and more evidence which is there across practitioner literature, academic literature. And honestly, and that time I was curious, I was just going through some of the studies, and there is a huge repository of knowledge which is there, is staring at your face and telling you, oh, this is the theory, this is the truth. And despite knowing leaders, but still they are making a decision which is counterproductive. Now, Raji, slightly longer than he knows, but I'm thinking making decision, a wrong decision, and making it correct also very, very costly. What is important at my mind, and it is just an adding to your point, is that you got to take an informed decision, and then you make it, you put the entire energy and resource back to make it true.
I think a few points I do agree. So you have to take an informed decision. You have to take. I think many of those points are correct, and the leader takes the decision, risky decision, and the team de-risk. I think your relation of the leader and the team has to de-risk with, because they have specialization, they can de-risk through specialization. They will support the leader. So that is the true relation. But few things, and I have managed companies which are 500 members, like a build company, 500 member, build 40 member companies. Now, sometimes there are some cash flow challenges. Now, when there's a cash flow challenge, when you have, it's about survival. It is not a profitability challenge, it's a cash flow challenge. Everybody has heard of unicorn, right? Everybody knows about unicorn. Very few people, I don't know, maybe knowing about cockroach and camel. Have you heard of cockroach and camel? There are like startups which have cockroach and camel. You know what a camel does, right? And you know what a cockroach does. Cockroach wants to survive, and camel wants to preserve. Now, so that's the new breed of kind of entrepreneurs who are coming up. I'm completely talking from an entrepreneurial perspective, because when you build a business, then you have to sustain. What I think Siddharth will say, that how long you can sustain, that's a different mindset. And an entrepreneurial mindset of doing that 0 to 1, 1 to 10 is very, mindsets are completely different. So I can talk from that. Though I have 10 years of experience of building that business also, but from a 0 to 1, 1 to 10, it's very challenging at some point of time to take the right decisions. The decisions are, but to Sumit's point, natural leadership is very important. Also, that you are taking the decision for everybody's. So you are taking a decision which is right, not what is popular. That's a very important thing. Not a popular decision, which is a right decision. And that is when your question comes. Will there be drama? Will there be comedy? What kind of movie it will become? Okay. So drama also happens. Comedy, you have to create comedy. As a leader, you have to be a very good comedian, by the way. If you have to be a good leader, you have to be a comedian. So drama, comedy, action. In my journey also, I have had action on. So all kinds of movies have been built.
I think the best movie that will come out of all these leadership situations is a fantasy movie, a deep fantasy movie, like a Harry Potter movie. A child is trying to play around his dreams, and the leader is doing. Like we were talking about what team will do. Like team is something. Team are those people who want to see dreams. If you are not letting them to see dreams by joining you, if they are not in a position to feel themselves while joining you, whatever outcome will come will not satisfy me in one way or the other. If you will allow your team to see the leader what they truly are, by putting yourself in those positions where they want to see how leaders do. They are just children. They don't know about how these things happen. So you just every time you go to those places, you show them, and you're not telling them you are doing this. You're just showing them you are doing this. Look, like a mother telling his child that see, and you're not saying anything, and the team is just watching. Okay, okay, they are getting confidence because you're not shouting loud that look, this needs to be done like that. Look, this is so important. We're just going those places smoothly. We're just finishing those tasks in front of them. And they're saying there is no problem in that. It can be done because the leader is doing. And you are telling them next time, please, you can see. I'm not, I will be doing something else, just take care of it. Okay? We're not making it a monster. The moment we start treating people like your property, not letting them come as a real hero, the hero they already are, then leadership collapse. And then the movie will become a really a monologue that just keep talking about his own things, and nobody else is aware about what's going on in the room. He's telling his own story, he's saying and saying, nobody's liking that story. So it's like that. So it's like you have to let your team, first of all, choose a team that is capable of seeing dreams. If the team is not capable of seeing dreams, there will be no movie. There will be a serious failed drama. So maybe a narcissist drama that will give you a real pain. And nobody wants that pain. Because if you choose a team that plays from heart, comes from a heart of a child, see a dream, want to create, want to explore, need not to be stopped for what they believe, because you are now believing in them. You have shown them the way how this thing done, and you can do it because you are that person. Then the movie that will come will be one of the finest fantasy movies the world has ever seen. And that's how, and naturally, the journey will be full of surprises, full of trusting in unknown. Because when this level of creativity, comes to play, you never know what next or what next will come. You don't know. You never know. You are so in a position of curiosity, butterflies flowing around you every single moment that you yourself you put yourself in an overwhelming situation every single time where you feel I don't know what's going to happen, but what will happen? I'm so excited for it. Because you have allowed everyone to free themselves, you have allowed everyone to see through what they are, not the way any system wants to tell them that look, you are this. You have to do this. Because if you will, it all starts from hiring to it all starts from or end up to firing. But even after that also. If someone is not fired properly, they will see you throughout their life. So this process keeps going on. So you have to choose people. And one thing we are very habitual of using logic in everything. Logic is not going to bring change that you want to. Your heart call will definitely, when you will listen to your heart, what your heart is saying, believe me, there is nothing in this universe that is not possible. You know what you truly are. When you start compromising or ignoring that voice, every single time you will bring up chaos. Because now you are not following who you are. You are avoiding, you are hiding from who you are. So the number of times you will do with yourself in a be it in 1 hour, be it in a day, be it in a lifetime, every time you will put yourself in a position where you will feel one. So it's all about feeling internal satisfaction in doing things. That's what every employee, every businessman, every leader, everyone wants. No second person in this world, I think, don't want to be a person who is satisfied. Last night when I was traveling to airport, there was a cafe shop over there in the airport, Delhi airport. I was just sitting I love to talk people where there is no chaos. Because that time people love to speak what they feel. Because if they are not ready to say what they feel, you will never be able to make things out. If someone is not ready to say what they have in their heart, they truly what they feel about you, about the situation, about the challenge, about whatever they are feeling genuinely, then you are never going to get the result that you are expecting because they are not feeling free with you. So I just ask that person, look how cool job you are doing. You have nobody to talk, basically, but people are coming, they are just paying, and they are just taking coffee, and they are just sitting quietly. The mindset that we have while taking coffee, that there is a classy place, sentences are coming, and we are just living the moment. We are reading, we are with friends, or like so. The ambience you can feel that calmness you all desire somewhere in your heart. Okay, so I asked that person that you are doing this and whole night you do this. He said, yes, I do this whole night. Then I said, are you happy with that? Don't you change any shift or what do you feel about this? So initially he was hesitating. When he find that I am genuinely asking him to share what you feel, please let me know what you feel. I'm interested in knowing what you feel. He said, it's no matter. He frankly speaks his truth. Truth, I'm, I want to say that truth is everything. The moment he accepted that truth, is no matter. That moment I asked him, this is what I want to listen from you. Because you are suppressing that feeling that this is the great place or what you are doing is doing. Because you don't know why you are doing this. Why you are here, what you are doing here, when you're not liking it. So this is all about knowing what you know, knowing what you are, and not hiding from what you truly feel. I think if this thing is there, every movie will be a blockbuster movie, every movie will be a fantasy movie, and every movie will be a heart melting movie. You will love to the core. It will touch you so deeply.
Quite interesting. Yes, indeed. But so answering your question, I have some reflection. In terms of the genre that you are talking about, which movie genre that in my mind, and I was thinking in my mind, that what should be the example? I was talking about fantasy. Um, I couldn't even find out any example from the recent movie. I don't know whether you guys know an actor called Nana Patel. I was thinking a couple of movies, for example, Nandi or in case some of you have watched that film, Kranti Dev, or Raju and Bangajet, one of our Shahrukh Khan movie. And think about, in case if you have watched that, think about that the role of Nana Khan. He's empowering heroes. Who is our heroes? Our hero is our managers, our employees. Those are the heroes. Like in a corporate setup, leader is not me. Leader is who is getting things done through others. Who is this others? Heroes. Nana Patekar made Rajiv, which is Shahrukh Khan as a hero. Or in Kranti Page, I can't recall who is the hero of Kranti Page. Atul, become the hero. So he's facilitating, he's empowering people. So that empowerment is extremely critical. That you are, whether you are able to make more manager, more leader, or not, is the moment of truth. He's talking about that. And honestly, more you are natural, he's talking about that. More you're going to do that. Which is why those empathy, right, resilience, vulnerability, those things come so much of our life. And he was also talking about one very interesting thing that you got to listen to your heart. And I also did it in exactly in that way. In my career, when I reflect, I always try to listen to my heart. And that realization is becoming ever increasing in my mind. I often say to my team that I'm not bothered about your content. I'm not bothered about what you will speak. I'm going to be bothered about your intent. As I said, that our intent is more important than your content. And honestly, let me tell you, our consumers, our viewers are extremely smart. If your intent is strong, they're going to understand that somehow or other. Like the saying that logic, data, rational mind, those are important. But then your logic needs to be logic. Then that wonder will happen. As in our business, we call that logic needs to make magic. In a film, think about a film. There are so much of magic is happening. Maybe many of those magics are beyond any logical thinking, mind. But still you are loving it, right? Still you are loving it. Because there are some part of that is also logical. So which is why when the logic meets magic, then wonder will happen. The miracle will happen. So that's one of my. In fact, if you read the story of Steve Jobs, actually, you will really understand this point well. I mean, he always think about his heart. Basically, that somehow your hearts understand what is exactly the right things to do. Somehow, may not be there is enough logic for that, but your hearts understand that. When you're making a decision from your heart, right, which is again we talk about reflex, right, and your reflex will come more and more when you understand that subject, getting and informed those things. You're going to make the right decision.
Thank you, sir. I think my bag is now full of insights. So, considering that we have very little time left, I would now like to invite my audience. If some of you have some questions, yes. In the end, please raise your hand. Please keep your questions to the point so that we can quickly able to reflect on.
Good afternoon, the panel. I'm Shine. So my question is, a leader is actually known for many a times for the team that he's leading, right? So what are the values that you look into the team that you take in? So I would like to know. And connected to that, how do you actually maintain or keep them retained? That's
Anyone?
Okay.
You hear me? Hello? 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 So for me, the most important thing that I look for is curiosity. As a leader, the curiosity of the team is super important. In the VUCA world that Jalan was talking about, it is very important. Ability to take a little bit of risk is also something that I look for. So curiosity, risk-taking is the first primary filter. Even if I am taking a decision about in an uncertain time that I have to let somebody go, I'm not looking for his technical skills, not looking for anything else. It's only what kind of curiosity he has is something that I'm looking for. And then comes the other things that he should be genuine. If he's making a mistake, he should talk about it. He should not just be hiding in one place, not doing anything. Like there are a lot of people who try to just hide. That if I hide, then I am all good. So those are things that are the deterrents in our team. But that's my three areas that I do.
Simple, couple of very simple attribute or the quality that I look for from the team is the first is intent. I spoke about that a couple of minutes ago. Practical intent. They should have a strong intent to do what actually the team is looking for, organization is looking for. But that intent, more than the content. Yes, I want to achieve that. That's one. Second is nimble footed. You've got to learn fast. The ability to learn, learnability. So that's the thing, adaptability. And the third thing is commitment. Once we agree on certain things, once as a team we have taken certain decisions, then the democracy ends. When the democracy ends, there is no discussion on that. Then only one thing which is true, which is bedrock execution. At the end of the day, you've got to execute what you have planned. And unless and until the team is rallying behind that as everybody, it is very difficult to achieve. So therefore, that commitment, okay, to deliver that is very critical. That's the third. And the fourth is integrity. Fourth is integrity, right? I mean, Rally was talking about that. When someone is just hiding something. No. You've got to be honest. You've got to be, your transparency, that integrity is extremely critical. Right? That honesty. He's talking about national leadership. You cannot as a team, you cannot survive unless and until you're brutally honest to yourself. Brutally honest to yourself. You're intending to be in place. And the last point is mutual trust. So these are the few points which just came in my mind. Yeah, fundamental attributes.
Yes. You can have more questions. Yes, in front. I think we will be able to hear you.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, in turbulent times when things are ambiguous, it is basic human nature to get nervous. How do you channelize that and to make it to use it as your strength? Like when you started your career, things must be ambiguous.
Okay, this is beautiful question. Nervousness, the anxiety that you feel when you are in a turbulent time of leadership. Basically, it will never come overnight. It's a process of shedding your layers after layers. It's like, if I say very precisely, if I say, the more you will start seeing that you are now capable of finding what your flaws are. Forget what the turbulent time is bringing. You know that part. That doesn't matter. Win, lose, nothing matters. What matters is, whatever the situation is, you one amazing line, or you can say one amazing thought was going through me that it's about leadership. I'm not a leader because I know I'm a leader. It's sort of nobody is going to tell you that you are a leader and you have to stay strong in this position. And look, this is a very anxious or anxiety-filled, nervousness-based position. You know you are the leader. You have evolved to that level of consciousness of yourself that your higher self is saying, why are you worried? You are already, you see your higher self, see what I can see in you, you are not seeing. Why are you hiding? You have all the answers, what you are looking for whose approval you are waiting for. What is terrifying you? Because your higher self has worked on that particular version, because now that is higher self. That's not you. You haven't reached there. Because but your higher self is already there. And that will guide you that this situation is already in under control. This is not out of control because this is in control. That's why you are facing it. Only you will face only those things that are 100% manageable. Remember this. Never anything will test you in a way that is not manageable. It's you who start believing that this is a big problem. It's you who convincing yourself that this is a nervous situation because you haven't worked on your darkness. Because you are just coming out of running on an eggshells. You haven't prepared yourself in a way that You have to point out every single thing that you hold within you is not up to the mark, or has always put you in a place where people can judge you or people can threaten you to any cause because this is your weakness. And those fears are letting you bring that nervousness in that particular thing. It's not the situation, it's not the challenge. Nothing of that kind of situation can touch you in any way. But those previous fears that you are having imposed by situations, surroundings, and happenings, is those fears are subconsciously or consciously creating that nervousness because you are not believing in yourself because of those situations that you have that have stuck you in that place. So there is no challenge as such exists that cannot be undone, cannot be transmuted in something which is way more beautiful. Because that nervousness is also telling that you are excited about it. You are not hiding, you are very excited about it. You want to fight for it. Your whole heart is saying you are ready to do it, but you are so nervous. This overwhelming situation is one of the most beautiful situations. This is the situation that will make you a leader. Facing this, not hiding from this. Once you are ready, once you accept this, surrender to that position, that situation. Just completely surrender. Not in a way that you have given up, but in a way you want to surrender to this moment and want to see like what comes. Let's see. So all those moments whenever happened in anyone, I think big things are created out only because of surrender. Completely surrender. And the Phoenix Rising, you are the Phoenix Rising. That's how it works. I think at least I uh, see, I talk about vulnerability. The leader got to be vulnerable. It means you got to accept the situation. The situation is like that. Now, one of our code for a leader, a great leader is visionary. I mean, you open any of the book, it's a leader need to be visionary. Now, for challenging time, any kind of a decision that most of the leaders are making. I mean, I'm sorry, I've been a little bit of a criticizing the leadership fraternity today, but this is the fact. They always take very short-term decisions. Since Raju was talking about that during a challenging time, the cash flow has become one of the challenges. So therefore, you have to manage your bottom line, and therefore you are trading off with your employee, laying off, left and right center. This will never work. You've got to be a little bit of a far-sighted as well. Then only you can make a balanced decision. Because the challenge is there, you accept that, and then you find out a solution. Leaders today is try to save themselves before the team, which is why they are sacrificing that. To stay afloat in the short. So that's it.
I definitely wanted to add this because this is something very core to me because I engage with a lot of youngsters like you. Two things you have to remember. One thing I will talk about is little spiritual, but I will give you some practical tips. First thing is that if you are vulnerable, if you are nervous, nobody is judging you. If you are a team member and you are feeling that, oh, somebody is judging me, and you are feeling more nervous, I can tell you, and I have worked with a lot of leaders and I also lead team. I am welcoming that you are vulnerable. If you are showing your vulnerability, I am welcoming. So if you remember that other person is not judging you, you will feel little less nervous. There's nothing to be nervous. That is one. Second, I have been trying to do this in all. I go to a lot of colleges and schools. This is the most important thing. We have kind of confused spirituality. The breath work. The breath work is so important. Just do this. I'm just giving you a practical, very practical thing. You just in 1 minute turn that in for 1 minute. Just you're vulnerable. Start the 1 minute and breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. The breathe out should be longer than the breathe in. If breathe in is say 6, breathe out should be 7 or 8. If you can bring that breathe in and breathe out in 1 minute to less than 10, you should not do breathe in and breathe out more than 10. You forget about everything in the world. So that is the, and I'm trying to see that we teach everything in our schools and colleges, a lot of things. We don't teach the basics of this breath work, which is the most important thing to lead life. I think I don't want to pick up one thing from him because he spoke about a lot of things, and I am very passionate about this to all the students.
I can't just, very interesting, last note, if I may allow, just reflect, just hearing you and then thinking of that. See, it is okay not to be okay. The leaders got to understand that. You talk about spirituality, it just reminds me of one beautiful poet from Millie and Jill, in case you've heard of that American poet and philosopher. He said one beautiful line, and which I used for my marketing pay. He said that people will forget. Okay, what you said. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did with them. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did with them. But people will never ever forget how you made them feel. So that connection, that emotional connect with the team is so critical.
To sum up everything, I think one best thing we can learn from out of everything, just practice unconditional love. Just practice unconditional love. You will win everything. There is nothing about that. If you have hate for someone, if you have love for someone, if you want good for someone, if you want to answer someone, if you want to win someone, if you want to lose someone, if you want to gain something, if you want to anything, just master the art of unconditional loving. Because the world's biggest battles will be played through unconditional loving. There is no weapon can solve the problem of this world. There is no narcissism can solve the problem of this world. Only unconditional love is the way to answer every single thing in a most beautiful manner. Because unless you will not forgive, unless you will not release the pain that you are holding, unless you will not flow in a way that you know the person is challenging or has a challenge or something, but you don't want to see them like that. So what you have to unconditionally love. And when they will feel the warmth of that, there is nothing, the vibes you are releasing is so good. So supporting to them, the mindset will change.
Thank you, sir. I think as you told that our time on this dice is up, so we should wrap it up. So thank you. I think before they take it over, a round of applause for the three panelists. Jalal sir, I think these are the three country teams that we have today. There are other things which are lined up. We have to stop short of that and just hand it over to you.
So thank you, sir. On behalf of the whole IIT fraternity, I want to sincerely thank our panelists, Mr. Sandeep Mehra, Mr. Rajiv Mukherjee, Mr. Jalaluddin Mondal, and our moderator, Dr. Raman Sharma sir, for their invaluable contribution during the summit. Your insight and expertise and thoughtful perspectives on viral topics such as how to deal with VUCA with empathy and how to understand the pain area, the importance to go out of the turbulent times in resilience and understanding your own vulnerability. Decision making with 360-degree view and taking the right decisions rather than the popular decisions, and how to self-introspect during the important time, and trust your inner instinct
and listen to your heart in the digital life. Have significantly enriched the discussion. It is through your collective effort that we have gained fresh insights and perspectives that will undoubtedly shape the way we approach these topics moving forward. As we conclude this wonderful session, it is my honor to acknowledge the invaluable contribution of our esteemed speakers. On behalf of the ESL and Iift Kolkata, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each of you for sharing your expertise and time with us today. Before we wrap up, we would like to honor our esteemed speaker with a token of our appreciation. We would like to present you with a memento for the time, effort, and wisdom you have shared with us today. Beginning with Mr. Rajiv Mukherjee, sir. Thank you, sir, for the award. May I now request Mr. Sandeep Mehra, sir, to come forward and accept the memento. Next, may I invite Mr. Jalaluddin Mondal, sir, to come and accept the memento. Finally, I would like to invite Dr. Naman Sharma, sir, to come forward and accept the memento. Once again, thank you all for making to our event. A special mention to the Student Council for organizing the event. We would also like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our sponsors, SBI and CBI, for their generous contribution. Thank you, everyone.
To everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.